Sure. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Sister My Soul. This is Victoria and Asha.
Hello.
Hello. And we were gonna do a little check-in with each other before we started recording, and we're like, wait a minute. What we normally do is we just see each other on Zoom and start talking, and then topics arise and we go from there. So we're going to do that today. But before we do, let's just take a moment, because I've had kind of a busy day and running around. Oh yeah, let's just take a moment to sink into this moment, to connect more deeply to our bodies, to this moment, to our breath, to our hearts, to our soul's wisdom. Ah, yeah, I needed that. Yeah, so
Thank you.
yeah, I've been running around all day, and I suspect you have been too. So let's just see how we're doing, check in, and then and for those who are watching with us, honestly, we're doing this because we want to know how you're doing. We want to put our arms out there around women who need connection or support during this time, especially during this time of sheltering in place. So yeah, so we're with you. Yeah. So how are you doing today, Asha?
Interesting week, as always. New things keep coming up, new discoveries. You and I have talked a lot about how our own shadow work is coming up within us, and how that's also a reflection of what's happening in the world. The shadow work. I read a very interesting article today about a lot of new thought, new age people that are getting kind of sucked into this QAnon group, and why that might be. And part of it was the inability to work with our shadow, and to want to do spiritual bypass and only see the good, and all of that. And I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I got over that a while ago. Shadow is also part of God, is also part of us, is vital and important to be honored and listened to and worked with. It doesn't mean it gets to be in charge. And if we don't pay attention to it, it's going to be in charge regardless.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, this week has been another opportunity for shadow work. Counseling, which we do every now and again, just to do kind of a tune-up in our relationship. We've been together, we've known each other for 30 years, and we've been married for 20. So we have lots of history and stories and patterns, and so it's good to break it up a little every now and again. And I got to be aware of a story that I had about how I am in certain areas of our relationship, and I got to see that that was a false story.
Wow.
That it was a made-up idea that I had about how I was and how it was, it was. Said, I've heard you tell that story a while now, and I don't think that's actually accurate. And instead of getting defensive or reactive or, well, it's my story, it's my life, which I do often, I went, huh. And then all of a sudden it was like, and the story just dissolved, it just blew up. It was like, wow, I've never been able to see that story was a fallacy that I made up. And it wasn't to make me wrong or make him wrong. It was just how I was seeing a particular situation and the way I am in it. And it was not true.
Yes.
And the willingness to say, let me be the observer of myself in this moment, and entertain the idea that maybe my always been is in fact not the way it's always been. Opened me up to see it really differently, which gave me space. It gave us space. And then I had the same thing happen with somebody else later in the day, where they had a reaction to me, something that I had done, which was a mistake, and unlike when I've made mistakes before and then I get defensive and I try to justify why I did what I did, I just said, thank you for calling me on that.
Mm.
And then I went, get it. You know, I don't need to say anything else except notice for myself, how does that keep me open or closed?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't need to fix this. I get to be aware of my part in it because I did do what she said I had done. You know, I interrupted and I'm an interrupter. And I'm continuously working on that.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to say thank you and thank you for helping me continue to learn.
Mm.
And that felt again different and more spacious. And I think it's part of the work I'm doing with the recovery from white conditioning, you know, just unearthing what I don't know that I don't know and being willing to actually sit with it and look at it instead of run away from it. Instead of being afraid of new information or reactive to new information.
Wow.
So that's how I am. I'm good today. I noticed yesterday I felt a little off.
Uh-huh.
And we did our conscious conversation last night. So
Yeah.
I got to talk about some of these things. I've got some really fun quotes I'd love to share
Oh, great.
in a little bit that helped me kind of open this up a little more for myself and then my community.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's how I am. I'm good today. I feel lighter today. I feel more open today.
Oh,
And
I
that's
love it. Yeah. Asha goes deep and she dives in and I dive in right behind her and I love it. I love it. Thank you for all that. There's so much there that I want to comment on, but I'll circle around back to those. Hopefully I'll remember. I do want to say that you're freezing momentarily and I don't know why. It's very quick, little glitch, catching most of what you're saying.
funky internet.
Quirky internet.
Okay,
So
we get funky internet here, so I'm sorry.
no worries. You know, if I notice you're frozen, I'll just put my finger up so that you can maybe pause and I'll put my finger down so that you can continue talking because we want to catch every word. Okay, sounds good? Okay, great. Wow, yeah, and this is oftentimes what happens with us, that we mirror what we're experiencing. I see 2 days ago, we scheduled 2 days off to go to the lake to replenish, and the lake is my happy place. The lake is my medicine place. And we had a glorious, glorious day. I mean, honestly, I took a before and after picture, which I often do when I go out in nature. Like, this is me before, and this is me after. You know? And I was, you know, my eyes were lit up. I looked younger. I looked calmer. And then there was smoke coming to the lake, and we realized there was a fire, not right nearby, but close enough that we thought we should probably head home instead of camping out. And so the contrast from that day, which is, what is today, Friday? So that was Wednesday. Yesterday, I woke up so tired, so disconnected. There was nothing I could do to reset my mojo. I just was in it, right? So
Yeah.
of course I look to astrology. What's going on? What, you know, what's squaring my moon? And you know, there's a lot collectively going on, and it was a lot personally for me. But it was one of those days where I just had nothing I can do. When I'm in that place, I do two things: I completely unplug, and I tell my husband I need to wring my sponge out. I need to cry. So I will purposefully look for material, something to watch, or watch those rescuing animals. That always gets me. Like, I love those so much. There's so much there. I love those. But I'll be bawling like in no time at all, and just letting the tears flow, cleansing my being, and moving whatever that is that's kind of stuck in my being that I can't quite put my finger on. You know, yeah, I could say it's the collective or personal things going on. I couldn't put my finger on it. I just needed to let it flow and release.
Yeah.
And the other thing that has been going on, and I thought, should I talk about this? It's one of these things that, you know, you and I are both really vulnerable and share a lot. And when you're a professional person, there's that line of sharing too much, holding space, whatever. But then there's the breakthrough of, you've got to be real and authentic. And Yeah, my real,
Yeah.
that's hard for me to share because it's so humbling being a healer, being a transformational hypnotherapist and a healer, that I struggle with the experience of chronic pain. And it has been flaring this week, flaring.
Mm.
So like I can become incapacitated where, again, either it's emotional stuff or I just got to unplug and be with my body and just talk to my body as much as I can. And it's, when I say humbling, it has been, I was really stuck for a while of this shouldn't be happening to me. I've got so many tools, so many practices. I've been doing this work for 20 years. This shouldn't be happening, and then the acceptance of that, and then feeling, real or imagined, the sense from people when they learn, a hypnotherapist has chronic pain. Well, how can you be effective in helping others? Which brings me to the archetype that I so resonate with which is the wounded healer.
Yeah.
And so I have been, the last couple of days have been hard, and today, random pain, and I just, have to slow down and listen. And okay, what do you have to share, and what do you want me to know? So that's where I've been the last couple of days, and then today, feeling good in my spirit, but my body is really talking to me today. So,
Mm.
in that place, is this mine, just mine? Is it historical from my journey? Is it what I'm picking up in the world? Empaths can do that. We can, what am I carrying and where did I get it from? Right.
Right.
But
Whose pain is this?
yeah, so that's where I've been. And it's been hard, because I'm at an age where I shouldn't feel this much pain. And then I do wonder, how many years do I have left? And can I recover enough to do the life, to move and be in the world as I want to? And that's something that's challenging for me sometimes. So that's where I've
Mm.
been. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I think there's something really powerful there because so many people deal with pain that we don't see. It's
mm,
not visible.
yes.
Years ago, we were just talking with some friends that I have visiting that several of us have had the experience of Bell's palsy, which is a
Mm,
nerve inflammation that makes half of your face not really numb, but you can't move it. There's nothing you can
mhm.
do with it. So literally half your tongue, half your nose, it's like a line gets drawn, and
Yeah.
you get limited. And I remember doing. I was on duty to do the prayer practitioner work at my center, and I had half of a face. And I said to my minister, do you want me to do it or get a replacement? If I do go up, can I at least explain that I'm okay and I haven't had a stroke, so that people don't worry about me because people knew me. And I basically just said, here's what's going on with me. I said I have a comedy mask and a tragedy mask, because I could only be expressive on half my face. And I said, it, I'm very clear that this has come up as something that wants to stop me from doing the life that I'm claiming that I'm stepping into. One of
Mm.
the times I had it on one side, then 6 months later on the other side. And the second time it was
Wow.
right after I said I'm gonna go into ministerial school. And I got very clear it was my ego going, oh, you think so? Well,
Uh-huh.
what if this happens? What if this limitation strikes you? Then what
Mm.
are you gonna do? And I got very clear, and I shared with the group, I said, everybody has something that wants to rise up and try to stop us from being who we're supposed to be in the world,
Yes.
from stepping into our power.
Mm-hmm.
And I struggled with the word power for a long time, but for me,
Mm.
soft power is the phrase I use, feminine power. Um, and I was very clear that that's what this was about. And I said, mine
Yes.
just happens to be really visible. You can see my thing that's trying to thwart me and stop me. That's
Mhm.
just something deep within me that's reflected in this experience. And I said, no, regardless if I have a half a face or not, this is what I'm supposed to do. I also sought whatever wisdom and treatment I could, but I got to notice that just the claiming of this is happening, I don't even have to know why, or
Yes.
if it's my pain or somebody else, I can try to figure out the story or not, or I can just say this is happening for me,
Mhm.
for me. So
Mhm.
I'm not willing to let it stop me from doing the things in life I'm meant to do. And now I've got arm pain. As an older
Yes.
person, I've got this crazy thing going on with my arm that I could figure out why, what's that about? And I'm doing the things that I can do.
Mm.
And at the same time, I can't carry things the way I've been a strong person for a long time. And I can't do those things that I used to do so effortlessly.
Yes.
And what it's led me to, yet again, is that I have to ask for help. I have to be willing to accept all the help that's just waiting in the wings for me to let it in. And that helps me let go of how I'm supposed to be, or it should not be this way, or, there are a lot of people that walk around, roll around, have to deal every day with severe physical limitations.
Yes.
And have a life and live a life and are impactful in the world and make a difference and bless people. And so that
Absolutely.
really helps me step outside of my.
Yeah. So I didn't catch that last word because you paused. So step outside.
Step outside, the idea that it should not be this way.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I 100% agree with you. And whatever we're facing, whatever's in front of us, embracing it, meeting ourselves where we are with the practice. And this is, okay, I'm just going into a deeper practice of acceptance and compassion. Acceptance and compassion. We're so good, especially as women, offering all that up to anybody who needs it. Oh, you're great. You're wonderful. I love you just as you are. And here's some compassion. And then we get like the leftovers for ourselves. So I'm doing that rewiring work, that I am going to up level my compassion for myself in such a way that this too can be embraced and loved, and it's just what is. I just and this becomes my message. What is this teaching me, and what is my message? And I started writing a book like 10 years ago. The concept came a while ago. I maybe outlined it 10 years ago. The last 3 years I've been trying to work on it, and every day it changes. And so I wrote at the beginning, now my intro, had I wrote this book 10 years ago, would have been a very different book, because I would have been more in that, oh, I got a tool for that, I've got a process for that, let's pray it away, let's affirm it away, that positive psychology experience. And you touched on it in your check-in, that these spiritual bypasses, which now I often say, yep, I definitely was like, let's take the spiritual road and just, soar over it and fly over it and lift ourselves and lift each other. And that's beautiful. But we must address the human experience, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a very different book. And I'm like, well, so maybe this book is for people, maybe women with the experience of chronic pain, or healers who show up wounded, because and while we're taking care of ourselves, but we still got some stuff, but we can still show up and be of service, and to not stop. And I love how you just keep going. I mean, that demonstration of, yeah, I'm just going to show up with half my face, and that's really fascinating that it switched sides. I've never heard that about a Bell's palsy case. That's fascinating.
Well, I've heard about people having it on one side, but
Yes.
I've not had.
I've
like,
never heard that.
Well, I said, at least I'm done now. I'm even. I even myself out.
Right. Yeah. And of course,
I'm complete with this experience.
yeah, I'm complete now. Let's move on. But there's so many ways we can look at it. I mean, of course, we want to catch what's the symbology here? What is this teaching me? And what is this connected to? But also, what's in this moment? What is needed in this moment? I need some compassion and acceptance, and willingness. Those are my three most favorite spiritual terms.
Yeah.
Acceptance, compassion, and willingness. Yeah.
Yeah. I may not know how to do whatever it is that I need to do next, and I'm willing to discover what it is that wants to be done next.
Yes.
Or how to be.
It glitched again, but I'm catching the words. You just pause for a second, maybe it's like dramatic pause because she's saying something really powerful here.
Yeah, maybe I just need to talk slower.
It could be, yeah, we're learning here. And I always say that on these videos. The philosophy with these Sister My Soul and my own channel is show up in real time as real people. This is it. And whatever, we don't edit. It's like, yep, there's some glitches. We keep moving with it and we learn and grow as we go. Learn and grow as we go. Yeah, I'm gonna make a
Just
t-shirt.
like life, full of
Yeah.
glitches.
Which reminds me, when you're talking about just showing up, we had that juicy conversation a few weeks back, maybe a month, where we were talking about obstacles, and we started doing our back and forth conversation, and we arrived at turn your obstacles into the obstacle course. You remember that?
Yes.
And just play with them. Like, well, hey, here's some obstacles.
Yeah.
Be excited about it and use the energy to be curious how we're going to move through it, or we can be in the victim mode, or but I love that, turn it into the obstacle course.
Yeah.
And that's makes such a difference. Yeah.
There was a great quote that I got from the Science of Mind magazine that was this month's Science of Mind, and there's a John O'Donohue quote. I don't know who he is, but I love this quote.
Oh my goodness, you must know him. I'm going to share with you in a minute after, because yes.
Okay, I love that you know him. That's awesome.
Yes.
It says, though the human body is born completely in one moment, the birth of the human heart is an ongoing process.
Mm.
It is being birthed with every experience of your life.
Mm. Yes. Yes. Oh, wow. Can you read that one more time? That's
Yes.
so beautiful.
Though the human body is born completely in one moment, the birth of the human heart is an ongoing process. It is being birthed with every experience of your life.
Mm.
And with my day yesterday, it really resonated with me. The author of the blurb about the quote, Reverend Catherine, I don't know if it's Saux, S-A-U-X, she said, how has my heart grown over the years? With every choice, it has become hard and closed or soft and open.
Mm.
I know and feel the difference in the very moment of choice. And still, sometimes, I choose the unloving word or action. Ouch. Time to forgive myself, ask forgiveness from those I've hurt, and move on with in the world. It is encouraging to realize that we can err and then begin again without being bound forever to old mistakes. I take comfort in the knowledge that my heart has unlimited opportunities to create and recreate itself with every loving gesture or thought.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Amen.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes. Beautiful. I may ask you to send me those two things. I'll just put it in the description box connected
Great.
to the video. Yeah. Beautiful. So the reason my eyes got so big when you said John O'Donohue is that I was thinking, one of the things that I was thinking of a topic is exploring our favorite top 5 books.
Mm.
And that one, John O'Donohue, I found John O'Donohue, one of those, like angel shopping moments, where you're in a bookstore. I was in actually the library book sale, and it was literally one of those books falling off onto the ground moments. And I was doing, back then, it was maybe 5 years ago, we used to, through my husband's work, Tribal Edge, we had this thing we call the Earth Vigil Fire, that we kept a fire going with intention for helping heal the world and each other. It was, the original intention was for a year. We got through 6 months.
Wow.
And we would take turns keeping that fire 24 hours. So it was my weekend to do the fire, and that book fell at my feet. Oh, this looks interesting. Anam Cara, Soul Friend. I took this book. Asha, I want to gift you with this book.
Oh,
This is going to be one of your top 5 books, I guarantee you. I took it, and it was one of those books where you start to highlight, and you're like, okay, I can't highlight every line pretty much. this book was like such deeply spoke to my soul. And then I fell in love with John O'Donohue. And by the time I found him, he had passed away. He was actually connected. Oh gosh, I can't remember who his lineage of who he studied with, but just a mystic, a beautiful mystic. And so I had to tell my husband at the time, he was my boyfriend, I have to confess, I'm in love with another man. But don't worry, he's not in this world anymore. But I just love his soul, his writing, his depth, and you're gonna love him too. So yeah. So Anam Cara is just one of the best books in the world. Soulful, meets you where you are. He wrote so poetically. In fact, he was a poet as well. David White was one of his. Do you know David White?
Yeah,
so
I do.
they were friends, contemporary friends, and I think at one time I thought John mentored David, but I'm not sure if that's true. But yeah, so that kind of, David White, that rich soul kind of, you just want to catch every word, it's just dripping with wisdom. So yeah, I have a couple copies. I'll get you a copy of that.
Yay!
Yeah.
I love that little divine, thing that, I just happened to see this name, and I love that.
I know. So my eyes bugged out, like, what? She's saying his name. She's saying his name. But, in your check-in, you touched on so many things, and, it's like, which way to go? But that shadow work piece, I think we might even want to dedicate a whole conversation to that. But you're right. This is this shadow work time. And since you brought that into the conversation, we probably should talk a little bit about what it is for those who don't know. So
Yeah.
do you want to describe what shadow work is to you?
Well, for me, it's everything that is unseen, hidden, dark, ugly, things I've always tried to repress, push down, push away about myself.
Yes.
And I wanted to be just my spiritual self for so long. And then I began to recognize that if I'm in a human body, if I'm having a human experience, there's a reason. There must be a reason. There's no mistakes in God. There are no accidents. And if I am here in a human body, there's a reason. And it's not so that I can spend my entire life fighting my body and the wisdom of my body and the stuff that I think is somehow against me, which the more I am willing to look at the shadow stuff, I realize it's never been against me. It's always been there to try to protect me and save me. It's just misguided sometimes. It's the reptilian brain. It's a lot of other things that got skewed, much like I said, that story that I had that I thought was real, and we all have examples of that, that can I be willing to bring that shadow into the light, not to kill it, not, the light helps dissipate its power. And it still is, for me, the shadow will always live in me. There will always be a part of me because we are light and shadow. There's a reason for dark and light. I love the nighttime. I love the darkness of where we live when it gets dark. And so there's power there. There's wisdom there. There's opportunities for growth and healing there when I befriend my shadow instead of denigrating it, pushing it away, hating it. So for me, that's what I'm feeling so powerfully in the world. Yes, everything looks tumultuous. Yes, everything looks crazy. Yes, as I've been saying to my friends, we're living in Alice in Wonderland time. We keep trying to make sense of what's happening, and there is no sense. It's Alice in Wonderland. I said they kept letting the queen cut people's heads off, and they never stopped her. None of the other characters stopped her from cutting off people's heads. So we're in this upside down time, and we're really starting to see old ideas, old behaviors coming up for examination. And that's within ourselves and also in the world. And what do we want to do about that? Do we want to keep trying to push it back under the covers, or maybe give it some breath and air so that it can dissipate, so that the power of it can dissipate.
Yes, that's why these times are so intense, is we are being called to look at our individual shadows and the collective shadow, the shadow of our country, all of the things that were denied, kind of pushed aside, not looked at, not addressed, not dealt with, uh, things that are connected to a lot of shame and guilt. It's time. We have to look at it. And, you know, my wish is we could look at it with more compassion collectively. But as we talked about last time too, the microcosm of the macrocosm, as we practice at that level with ourselves, we ripple that out into the world. So that shadow work, yeah, I mean, to honor that it comes from Carl Jung, his theory.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us, as you touched on, a lot of us on a spiritual path, you know, there's a quote, and I don't know if it's Jung or where it originated from, but the brighter the light, the denser the shadow, you know, because if you're all just, oh, it's just great, everything is great, it's the shadows behind that we're not looking at, right? And then the shadow shows up because we're pissed off at this person or triggered by that person, and, you know, but we don't let anyone know we're angry because we can't do that. You know,
Right.
so, yeah, but going to family, you know, to childhood and family of origin, our primary need to fit in, to be safe, to be loved, to belong. And if we get a whiff of judgment or shame for any behavior we bring it out, that's where shadow can get, nope, I better not ever do that again because I want to be loved. And then we end up becoming half of who we are, half of who we are. And so reclaiming, embracing, integrating the shadow lets us come into our wholeness, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I love shadow work, and I think I hear a lot more people talking about shadow work, which is great. You
Yeah.
know, those classic phrases, you know, that you spot it, you got it. If you see it in someone else and you don't like it, that's in you. Also the good stuff too, right? Where you admire
Yeah.
someone, that's in you too. You spot it, you got it. Or I like to say, if this is my step in claiming my shadow, is I am that too. I am that too. Some part of me is that
Mhm.
too. Not always fun.
Yeah. 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 Not, especially not the people I'm super judgy about.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. I love that. It's
There was
true. I
another
mean,
piece that I shared last night. It's longer. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I will include it because it's good. One of our ministers, Reverend Jim Lockhart, I don't know if he's still doing ministry or not, but he said in this long thing, he hadn't blogged for a while, and because he was really sitting with, what do I want to say about what's happening in the world? And there were so many great things in here. I just want to read a couple if that's okay.
please, yes, please, please.
He said, I will not withdraw, but I recognize the need to amplify my spiritual practices so as to be more available and empowered. In my confusion, I seek clarity. In my fear, I seek courage. In my anger, I seek calm. In my insecurity, I seek strength. In all of these, I seek the realization of spirit as me in each unfolding moment. I seek to know the oneness we share as I see others who are not being their best selves. Where I see injustice, I seek to bring a consciousness of justice, compassion, and equality. I do these things through attention, intention, practice, forgiveness, and gratitude. For me, this is taking more time, focus, and effort than usual, which I thought was important. But he says, as always, it begins with, how am I seeing myself? Who am I being doing all of this? He talks about the being nature. Being compassionate makes acting with compassion automatic. Being forgiving makes forgiveness automatic, and so on. This was my favorite part. He has an affirmation. I stand strong in my deepening awareness and authenticity. I stand clear of those who are unable to contribute positively right now. I say yes to the unfolding realization of spirit as me, and I seek connection with others who share this pathway of awakening. I support justice, equality, fairness, and compassion. I
Mm.
bring these qualities with me wherever I am. I
Mm.
stand firm, but with an open heart.
Firm with an open heart. I love that. At the beginning, it was reminding me of prayer of Francis of Assisi's, Lord,
Mhm.
make me an instrument of thy will, where there,
Yeah,
gosh, I used to have that memorized. I don't anymore, but where there is chaos, let me bring peace. Another beautiful reminder that, and
yeah,
you brought the key word up earlier, which is choice. What do we choose in each moment?
yeah.
And is the choice bringing us peace and compassion and therefore rippling out peace and compassion? Or are we being held captive by judgment or anger? And it's really tricky work, isn't it? Like, we don't want to deny our anger, and yet we don't want it to run us.
Yeah,
I think that from a distinction is to use the energy of emotion, whatever comes, anger, but not be used by it.
yeah.
And what the heck does that mean?
Well, I love that line about, I stand clear of those who are unable to contribute positively right now.
Yeah.
Sometimes my anger can contribute positively, and
Mm,
sometimes it can't. So it's not just people. I read that as it's not just people that can't contribute positively right now, or attitudes that aren't contributing positively. Within me, is my shadow contributing, or
mm.
is it trying to knock, the playing board askew? Is it trying to upset the whole playing board, and I don't want to play anymore?
Yes. Yes. And that's where embracing the shadow helps, because, and that anger was the big piece I had to work with first with shadow work. I denied anger. I grew up with, I've shared this before. My two older sisters are fiery Aries, and they didn't hold back much. And in this case, when we're younger, we have choices. I want to do this, or I don't want to do anything like that. And I was like, I'm not doing that. That's not, nuh-uh. And so suppressed anger, I think that this experience of body pain is still some of that old suppressing anger. And I'm trying to move it with dance and get it's somaticized in my body. And so reclaiming anger, and when we reclaim any of these parts of us, I'm not going to be exactly like my sisters, but I need anger. Where is anger useful? If it's in my shadow, it's going to come out passively aggressively. It's going to come out with a
Oh,
little Scorpio dings or stings. But when I embrace anger, it can come forward as assertiveness and boldness. And I think, as you were talking about, that's what I was thinking. When it's in shadow, it's running us and we feel out of control. But when we bring it front and center and say, you are part of me too, and you have use, what can we do that is contributing, not contaminating? Contributing, not contaminating. And
that's good.
that's I think so important, because um, what I like to say too is, like, we're all in this together. We're all swimming in the same pool together. So don't pee in the pool. Don't
Or anything
contaminate
else.
it. What's
Yeah,
that?
or anything else.
Or anything else. Yeah. But in this world we're collectively swimming in, be focused or be aware. Are you contributing or contaminating? And when there's contamination and we can be mindful, I could do better, then that's our work. That's our
Yeah.
work.
I just had this, thank you. You just gave me, like, I can say to my anger or my whatever's going on, tell me what you need me to know. It doesn't need to come out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Like you can tell me anything you need to tell me, anger. You can
Mm-hmm.
tell me, I can mumble under my breath, blah, 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 something I'm mad about, but I don't have to put it into the world unless I'm clear that it's, contributing, not contaminating. My mantra is this fuel for the life I want,
Mm.
or is this fear?
Ooh,
And I'm
okay.
using that for everything: food,
Mm.
movement, things that come out of my mouth. Is
Mhm.
this fueling the life I desire, or is it fear disguised as smothering, placating, soothing, self-soothing, whatever this other behavior is wanting to do, that's actually masking some hidden fear at the base of my being.
Mm.
So I love that. It's easy for me to just go, oh, fuel or fear, what is it?
Excellent.
And that stops me long enough to take the breath, to
Yeah.
back up, to
Mm.
be the observer and go, what are you doing? What are you doing?
I see you. Yeah.
I see you.
Yeah, it's like these various parts of us, all our behaviors and all emotion is coming purposefully. It has an agenda. It's a matter of, is this going to be a helpful agenda, or is it going to harm, and how can we utilize the energy to make it helpful, and not hurtful. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And then you just said another word. What was the word that you picked up on that you said in check-in? I can't remember. Juicy check-in. I should have taken notes, because we could have just like bounced off of that. But yeah, so let's expand a little bit more on how do you embrace the shadowy parts? I mean, so they can be of contribution. Like you just said, pause. Do you actually talk to that part of you? What's needed?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We shared last night in conscious conversation that it's really good to say things out loud, not necessarily to another human being, unless it's maybe a counselor or somebody like you, that's listening non-judgmentally or whatever. But that one person shared that she did a lot of work with special needs kids. And she said, I taught them to say things out loud, because when we get it out of our brain and we hear it, we process it differently. And she said, I would have kids talk out their feelings, but also talk out their math problems. Okay, I'm doing 1 + 2 + 3, they would talk it out.
Yes.
And I know, because I'm a talker, I know it's shocking, but I'm a talker.
No.
When I get stuck in my brain, I can't do anything. When I can speak it out loud, then I'm hearing it, and I'm then going, is this real? Is this true? Is that the right word? Okay, it's not really that dramatic that I'm making it, I'm able to then be the observer of it when I get it out of my head and kind of in front of me by speaking it. And I can do that by myself.
Yeah.
I can be like, what are you doing right now? Why are you all getting upset about this? I can question myself from the observer point of view. And what we talked a lot about was the observer is never judgmental or mean or punitive or criticizing.
Yes.
That's all these other parts of us like to do that. Again, thinking they're being helpful. But I know it's the observer voice and truth when it's nothing but supportive, nothing but fuel.
Yes.
Never fear.
Yes.
So this talking out loud piece is really powerful. And so we can do it. So it is something that I do by myself.
Yes.
To those parts of myself. And I then listen. Sometimes I talk for them, I change my voice. I used to say my Judgy McJudgerson voice is like Cartman from South Park. What do you think that's going on? What do you have to do about that? I'm going to take my stuff and go home. So they have voices for sure. And the other way that I kind of play with them is because I've been in theater my whole life. So I do this meditation where I'm the director sitting in an empty, beautiful theater, 3 or 4 rows back, and I call on stage whatever character, whatever shadow, whatever part of me needs to have it say, and I let them talk. And when I'm complete, when I've heard what they have to say, I can excuse them, and they can go backstage, and I picture this thick, black velvet curtain on the back of the stage that they go behind. So they can keep talking all they want, but I can't hear them.
Yes.
It's the audience. All I hear is, so I say next, and then the next higher self, and the next higher, or whatever cast members I want to bring out. I am the director. With spirit, I get to be in charge of who I'm paying attention to, and they all get to have their voice. Every part in the play is valuable.
Yes.
The person carrying the spear saying nothing, they're all vital, important, and a play would be so boring without the drama and the upset and the dramatic moments. So that helps me.
I love it. Yeah, there's so many different parts, work processes, and many different theories, but that I love that. and the point that every single part has purpose and need. And so one of a parts integration work I've done with hypnotherapy is you negotiate the need. We need you, anger, but at this time, maybe we're going to have compassion lead this conversation, and oftentimes too, in that work, and you talked about it last time, that 3-year-old wants to come front and center. Like that's not the part we want to have having this conversation, our 3-year-old self. We want to say, thank you. You've got lots to contribute, but not at this time. We're going to let another part come forward. So I remember when I first heard all of these theories years ago, like, gosh, 20 years ago is my training. You think it's, well, isn't that, crazy having all these different parts and voices? But when you recognize, yeah, this is part of the experience and this too is accepted. And one of the things that's helpful too with those, especially the not kind, and by the way, you said the word I was trying to remember, observer.
Mm-hmm.
The observer energy, that can be that compassionate witness. But these other voices, it's helpful to say, whose voice is this anyway?
Yeah.
Who is in there just trying to diminish me right now? Not helpful. And so that's another place to work too. Like, you're not helpful. How can it be helpful? You're trying to keep me safe, perhaps, and trying to diminish me, but find the need of that voice or that part. But observer was the word. Thank you. When you said it, I was like, oh, thank God, because I would be all day like, what was that word? The observer. Do you think, Asha, when you say observer, do you think of that as the higher self, or what is the observer?
I struggle with the word higher self because then
Okay.
it makes it like a hierarchy. It makes it
Right.
because I think it's important. It is. I call it like my deeper self, my rooted in self, the part of me
Nice.
that anchors me into life when my brain, I love tree analogies. I'm deeply rooted, which means the rest of me can be flailing around like one of those air people, at the carb shop. But and the more deeply rooted and anchored I am in the truth, capital T truth, the observer place, then the rest of it can go on and do what it wants to do, and it's not going to knock my tree over. So that's kind of how I just noticed for a long time, I've started to shy away from higher self because there was something about that felt like it used to, where I was punitively negating the rest of my beingness. And and I like that we can, I call it the committee.
Yes.
The committee has so many parts and players, and or it's the cast, one or the other.
I like cast a lot. That's great.
Yeah.
As you said,
all the players,
all the players, and all are needed. We need those the drama. We need it all. All of it is welcome because all of it is purposeful. Yeah, I love that. That's a really good distinction. It's funny. I always had a kind of a higher self, kind of didn't really sit well with me either, but I didn't know how to describe the why of it. That's really interesting. I think of it as, I guess the observer is the essence of our being, the maybe soul energy, the wise one who, the energy of, that we can, and maybe instead of being higher self, we can reach higher or beyond our limited thought in the moment or limited choice, that there is higher perspective here. But it's really great. I've had a couple moments, not all the time, and it's a good practice to practice engaging that observer. But I've had sweet moments where I remember one time coming out of a vision quest and coming into my house just as it was, just as I left it, and probably left going, gosh, you should probably clean up that and put that clutter away, whatever. There was probably judgment when I left the house, but I walked in and it was like, look at this sweet person's house and look at her books. And it was really interesting. I found this deeper level of compassion and appreciation for my being that was so healing. Yeah, I got chills, and thank you. Yes, that was exactly how it felt. And I thought in that moment, can I bookmark this place to return, to witness myself with that much love and appreciation for my very being, just as I am, as my messy human self, my perfectly imperfect self, to love on that, to love on all of me. So,
Oh, that just makes me cry. That makes me
yeah.
want to cry. I love it. Look at this person's house. Look at this
Hmm.
sweet person's house,
Yeah.
or this lovely person's space, or look at this lovely person.
Right. And we
It's
do that with people. So, and for me, I find I can do that so easily for others, just absolute grace and love and compassion. And, if a friend will say, oh, my house is a little messy, I don't care. But if I think about having someone over to my messy house, forget it. I don't know, because I've already judged that it's not okay. So if I can return to that place of that compassionate witness who says, love all of you. Love just has, as your house is, as your body is, as your everything about you, just love and embrace. Boy, that's the practice right there, isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
Well, my dear, I'm looking at the clock. We can again talk for hours and hours, but I want to be conscious of time and conscious of. Someone told me you shouldn't do, and that should word again. Um, Recordings longer than half an hour, because people don't have attention spans right now. So if that's the case, just do it in segments. Watch 10
Yeah.
minutes. Yeah, watch it. You can, yeah, whatever works for you. So let's go ahead and just close our time. I kind of want you to read that quote one more time. Is it handy? The heart.
Yes.
And maybe we can move into meditation or prayer with that and just wrap up from there. And as
Great.
she's finding that quote, we're going to keep encouraging you all that are watching, share your comments, subscribe to the channel. What topics do you want us to address? We want to let you feel that you're included in this conversation too. We want to hear your voices and your.
Yeah. Your questions, your experiences, your sharing. I really want to just affirm and stress that anything you share with us is sacred and confidential, and we'll never use a name. We might talk about what you said
Mhm.
as it relates to kind of a broader topic, but we really want to encourage that there's a safe space for you to ask whatever you need to ask, and that it'll stay with us. And if you want that, you don't want to do it more as a public share on the site.
Mhm.
So talk to Victoria about how you can do that, because we
Yeah.
want to be mindful of the space that we create together collectively between the two of us and
Mhm.
all of you.
Yes, good point. I'll put an email address in the description. I don't know if it's called description or information, but there's a little chunk of underneath the video. You can scroll down and click there, and I'll put our emails. If you have a question that you want us to keep sacredly and confidentially, but want your voice heard and included in the conversation, that's a way to do it. So awesome. So let's hear that
Perfect.
beautiful quote. John O'Donohue.
From John O'Donohue. Though the human body is born completely in one moment, the birth of the human heart is an ongoing process. It is being birthed with every experience of your life. And feeling that birthing happening in every single moment, that each moment is a new moment, that past and future are illusions and all we have is right now. I feel the opening of our collective hearts as individuals and as a world, as humans being. I am so grateful for all that has been expressed today, all that has been heard and said and felt and understood. And know that this is the continuing evolution of us as a species that is being brought forth today, in this moment, and the next. And so in great gratitude for this time together, I simply let it go, all of it, knowing that the divine mind has got this, and the way will be made clear for each of us. What is mine to do in this next moment? Who am I to be in this next moment? Knowing that it is always fuel for the life we desire. And so I let it go, and so it is.
So it is. Beautiful. And I think since we touched on so many different topics, I think I would put it out there to people to share your experiences with the observer. And what would it be like to practice at that level of loving it, loving yourself with acceptance and compassion, to even walk around your house just as it is and say, look at the sweet person that lives here and how they're living. We'd love to hear about that. And thank you, Asha, as always. You open my heart and expand my awareness of these conversations, feed my soul. And that's what Sister My Soul is all about. Yeah.
As you do for me. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
We'll see you.
Blessings until next time. Yeah. We need to come up with a sign off. All right. Much love.
Yeah. Want to quickly? Bye.
I'm trying to figure out how to stop it. This is only my second time recording. There we go. Stop.